Thursday, May 21st, 2025 regular council meeting. We are reconvening at 7:27 p.m. We have no public hearings tonight. We have no business that has arisen from our in-camera work. Public comments. Jonathan, do you have any online or anything?
Thank you, Worshiping Council. We do have one member of the public here tonight that would like to speak during public comments.
Okay, and would that person like to come forward? And if you could state your name again for the people at home.
Red button. There you go. My name is Claude Brown, C-L-A-U-D-E, last name Brown, B-R-O-W-N. Pleasure to talk to all of you again on a different topic. So there are a number of topics on tonight's agenda, and I'd really like to talk to all of them if I could, but I only get 5 minutes. So also, I understand that there are certain things that you can only talk about so as to not put the town in conflict for legal purposes. What I did want to bring up was in relation to the notice of motion that Councillor Lang is making later on this evening, the land use bylaw amendment for childcare services. At the March 19th meeting this year, a child care service was proposed for development zone CHWY and was looking to amend bylaw 2423 for a one-off zoning at the Starbucks Arby's lot along the highway. That amendment, as I understand it, did not pass because it resulted in a tie vote. And so I suspected that was the end of that ordeal. Unfortunately, now we are looking at an amendment to the CHWY land use bylaw that is presently there, and to permit discretionary use in regards to child services, not only for that property, but every CHW land property along the highway. I don't need to reiterate what was stated in that meeting about the dangers of having children in parking lots, especially toddlers and parents dropping off 2 kids at a time. One kid put outside the car, the other kid being unstrapped from the seatbelt, and it would be a real shame to watch a tragedy unfold right before our eyes. If the council or council member were looking to actually protect children rather, and create a safe location for a childcare, there are a lot of different locations in the town that could be used for that, and they don't need to happen along the highway, especially not all of the highway. I really think that this proposal should be to prohibit childcare services within the highway commercial area, CHWY, not encourage them or give discretionary use to them. I would hope that council is looking to protect children. If you look throughout the town, there are a lot of zones, R1s, the R1Ns, all the other pirate zones that you'd like to go to are. And of course, the MHS, the CRs, and the CBs, and there's a lot of places that you can put daycares. From my understanding, there is no shortage of daycares in the town. There's no shortage of daycare space. There is a shortage of daycare workers. I have that on good word from someone who works in a daycare. And I just think that this is not a great idea. And I think that this should not be put forward as a motion to go forward. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Peterson?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Brown, Your Worship, but I do have questions for perhaps for our senior leadership team. So when Mr. Brown said that that this is a one-off in zoning, in terms of the discretionary property, could you speak to that? Because I think it was the other way around.
Through the chair, the amendment that was defeated by council was a site-specific amendment. So I believe the notice of motion is referring to a more broad amendment that would apply to all CHY districts. Thank you.
And could I just confirm, is the daycare along the major highway, this proposal? Mr. Brown stated that the daycare was on the highway.
Sorry, through the chair, I'm not sure I understand your question. Which
So
daycare?
Mr. Brown said that the daycare was proposed to be on the highway. I'm just wondering which highway it's on, because I didn't see a highway.
Yeah, technically, it's not, it doesn't access any highway. It was proposed. It was proposed to be in the Strathpoint commercial area.
Yeah,
where the Starbucks is.
would I be correct in assuming, if I recall the map correctly, it's about 70 feet adjacent to the schoolyard?
Through the chair, I don't know those numbers right now, but
So it's a kitty corner intersection from the school, I believe.
yeah, it doesn't access the highway directly.
Yeah, yeah. So if we were concerned about that, we would have to be concerned about the 1,000 children across the 70 feet away. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
No, I don't believe we have questions.
Or
to-
sorry, may I clarify one thing?
Sure.
Schools have a school drop-off zone where there are buses that have a designated spot to pull into the school. And that drop-off zone at the school that you're speaking of is on the north side of the property, away from the highway. And the area that I'm speaking of is right off the highway, one intersection away, and it's a very busy parking lot.
You are incorrect, sir. Some of the children who attend the school, and not the majority, are bused in. The rest are dropped off, and the drop-off zones are not on the north side of the school. They are on the east side, the west side, sometimes the south side, even though they're not supposed to be, but they are most definitely not the majority on the north side.
And are there toddlers that attend that school?
Yes,
I
tiny
think
ones.
We need to follow the correct procedure, and I don't believe we can have debating back and forth as far as public comments go. So thank you for your comments tonight. We do have to follow the correct protocol. Are there any other public comments tonight, Jonathan? Okay, we move now to delegations. Councilors, I think you've been apprised of the situation. Our delegation tonight is not attending, so we do need a motion to delete that item 6.1 of the delegation Lions Club of Strathmore. Councilor Wiley.
It was a race, Councillor Wagner, I got it. I move to delete item 6.1, Delegation Lions Club of Strathmore.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? And Councillor Montgomery, are you no longer with us? Okay, thank you. We move now to item 7, consent agenda. Council, are there any councillors who would like to see any of the items removed from the group consent agenda and dealt with on an individual basis? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. I just was wondering if we could move the, I thought I saw it on here. The page, social prescribing grant program? It's not on the consent agenda. That's the only one. So I would make the motion, Your Worship. I would move that council adopt the recommendations of the following agenda reports by an omnibus motion. 8.1, regular council meeting minutes, May 7, 2025. 8.2, special council meeting minutes, May 14, 2025. And then I'm going to, what, I'm sorry? Or 9.2, capital project major initiatives priority matrix. 9.3, debt management policy number 1821. 9.4, the SIP funding recommendation. 11.2.1, WADEMSA May report. And 12.1, Town of Strathmore STARS Ally Impact Report.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that motion is carried. So we move now to item 9.1, Social Prescribing Grant Program. Good evening, Bud, and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and Council, and thank you for having me attend this evening's council meeting. Got to lower this a little bit. Okay, good. I'm here this evening representing FCSS to present on the current grant funding program, Social Prescribing, and have a short presentation if council wishes, or I can proceed directly to any questions regarding the report. Thank you.
I'd like to see the presentation.
Okay. We can get into the presentation. I'll give you an overview of the social prescribing program and what it's currently being funded for. So if I can just have Veronica go ahead and link that up for me, please.
Social prescribing is a holistic approach to health that bridges the gap between medical and community social care services. Did you know that over 80% of a person's health depends on social determinants like adequate food, housing, income, and relationships with others? Through social prescribing, healthcare professionals can refer patients to community-based programs to improve their overall health and enhance their quality of life. Meet George. He has diabetes and has been visiting his doctor more regularly with anxiety concerns. George thinks his anxiety is related to his diabetes. But his doctor recognizes instability in George's personal life, which could be the main cause of his anxiety. The doctor discussed this with George and then made a social prescription to refer him to a link worker. A link worker is a non-clinical professional. This individual is employed by a community-based organization that focuses on serving seniors. Link workers build relationships with older adults and monitor their progress. The link worker assigned to George helped him to develop key health and social goals. They discovered that housing and food instability were causing George's anxiety and worsening his diabetes. Together, they determined which community programs and resources would best meet his needs. Together, they created a care plan and worked at a comfortable pace for George. The link worker also checked in on him regularly and sent progress updates to his family doctor. With assistance from the link worker, George accessed a housing subsidy and was referred to the food bank. He also received transportation support in his community so he can participate in social and recreational programs. There are many benefits of social prescribing: improved physical and mental health, increased confidence to live at home, reduced isolation and loneliness, reduced length and frequency of hospital stays, and increased community connections and natural support networks.
That connects people, builds evidence, and influences policies to strengthen and community care systems. Supported by the Canadian Red Cross, they are leading the momentum in Canada's social prescribing movement. According to their research, every dollar invested into social prescribing programs may return $4.43 to society through improved well-being and reduced costs incurred in the health system and government. The Alberta Social Prescribing Program began in September 2022 and has grown to 13 regional projects across Alberta, including Strathmore and Wheatland County. The Alberta program has reported more than 2,500 social prescriptions since its inception. Research by Healthy Aging Alberta shows that out of those 2,500 social prescriptions in Alberta, a 24% increase in emergency room visits were reported, as well as a 41% decrease in the number of repeat clinical visits and a 57% improvement in health and well-being of its clients. Social prescribing in Strathmore and Wheatland County began in January of 2024. As most of the current 2021 census, 30% of residents in Strathmore and 33% of Wheatland County residents are over the age of 55. By 2030, it is expected 1 in 4 Canadians will be over the age of 65 years of age. Over the past year, social prescribing program has received 60 referrals and has supported a total of 55 older adults, 42 clients being in Strathmore, 12 clients being in Wheatland County. The reach highlights a growing need across rural Alberta for connection, support, access to essential services, and we're currently working with 37 active clients. Over the past year, the program has delivered critical, person-centered support to older adults, addressing some of the most pressing challenges within our community. 21 clients were supported in securing stable and safe housing. 30 clients were supported in reducing isolation. 32 clients were connected to mental health resources. 41% of our clients received assistance to improve financial security, and 31% of our clients gained reliable access to food and nutrition. These results reflect the program's vital role in promoting basic needs, stability, connection, and overall well-being for older adults in both Strathmore and Wheatland County. The lives that we have seen change from this program are incredible. We wish we had some more time to share stories, but here are a few quotes that really say it all. We work with 19 trusted community partners, including PCN, Strathmore Hospital, Home Care, and local clinics to ensure clients receive timely, connected, and integrated supports. Social prescribing positions in Strathmore and Wheatland County, we're looking upon ourselves as pioneering as a rural health leader, offering person-centered team-based care tailored to local needs as identified in the 2023 social needs assessment, such as transportation, rising visibility in chronic homelessness, equitable access to health care, and reducing senior isolation. Social prescribing also champions the integration, coordination, and navigation of the 290 local supports and services identified in the Town of Strathmore's needs assessment. We are requesting Council's investment in the social prescribing program to ensure it remains sustainable and continues meeting the growing needs of our older adults beyond 2025. Overall finances to maintain the current social prescribing link worker position would break down as follows. Year one would be a one-year commitment from Healthy Aging Alberta and Calgary United Way. Year two would be a 60% contribution from the same group. And year three would be a 30% contribution from the same group. So the breakdown is $161,500 from Healthy Aging Alberta and the Calgary United Way. Town of Strathmore's contribution would be $65,450, and Wheatland County's FCSS has already agreed to support our program to the tune of $28,050 over the 3-year term. We thank you and our partners so much for the supports. Because of the collaboration and connection of our community, members, that we are able to live the lives we live at every age with safety, health, and prosperity in Strathmore and Wheatland County.
Thank you, Bud. Questions from Councillor? I have one question for CAO Scoble, and that is the funding source for our 2 payments regarding the social prescribing grant program. Where would they come from, Liana or Mark? Is this something we would budget for, or is this?
Yes, Your Worship, as the motion here, we're looking for a 2-step motion. One, to support the continuation of the grant for a 3-year period, and as a part of that, funding amounts for excuse me, for 2027 and 2028, which would be included as a part of the budgets for those specific years.
And do we have is there any difficulty in us committing that funding for future councils? Liana?
What we try and do is we try not to commit future councils. This is a grant program, and as you've seen from other grant programs, one of them is the NRED grant. This is another grant that we are actually asking for council's commitment because it is a 3-year program. The NRED grant is a 2-year program, and this is why we brought that back to you. We wouldn't receive the funding unless we commit to the full program.
That's good. That clears up any concerns that people might have as far as our commitment into the future. It explains exactly why we would need to do it in this fashion. So thank you very much for that. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship, and I appreciate the presentation. To quote Councillor Wiley's oft-stated, for the people at home, $100,000 approximately is going to be contributed by the government and Wheatland County, and $65,000 there for us. That will come out of our budgets for the 3 years. So my question is, who designates the social prescriptions? And out of this $161,000, are staff costs coming out of that?
Yeah, the yearly average for staffing costs and then travel commitments and other related administration would be $85,000 per year, with a large majority coming from Healthy Aging Alberta and the Calgary United Way.
So half of the money dedicated to this project is given over to staffing, right?
The $85,000
Yes.
a year would go to the position to support social prescribing and the link worker position, and any related costs within that position. Mileage, cell phone use.
So then the actual benefit to the community between Wheatland County, the province, and us, what is left after the staffing, is around less than $80,000 to actual do programming over 3 years?
Our commitment from the town's perspective?
No,
or
I'm
just
talking
in
generally,
general?
for the whole program.
Yes, correct.
Mark?
65 plus the 28 from.
Perhaps I can better just provide some more additional information. So the grant itself is up to $85,000 per year. A large portion, as Mr. Brazier indicated, is towards staffing salaries, with some small administration costs for mileage and things like that. So that breakdown does come as indicated in the report and the presentation. More than half of that $85,000 over 3 years comes from the province in over the 3-year time.
So then my last question is, what staff qualifications are then directed towards somebody who does this social prescribing? What would be the qualifications of somebody who would do this work for $85,000 a year?
Well, we're currently, we have an employee in place that has a social work background, life coaching background, and then caregiver background as well.
Like a master degree
No,
social
not a
worker?
master's, no. Not that highest level, no.
And would that be a full-time position?
It would be,
At
yes.
$85,000? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Councillor Wiley?
I was trying to record this, sorry. So how many separate residents were helped with this program? Did I see 42? How many different residents were helped with this?
Local residents of Strathmore?
Yes, Strathmore residents.
42 is correct, yes.
42.
Yeah, over a 1.4-year period so far, with 37 active clients currently.
And what services exactly they're being driven to appointments? What exactly does this link worker doing?
So some services could include a person that has no transportation within the town of Strathmore and getting services and being driven to and from the food bank. Some services could include housing resource navigation and finding them from the homeless shelter, from the overnight shelter into being housed into Chinook apartments. So it depends on the level of scope that this particular person would require.
Yeah, I'm always just find this staggering how much money government can spend on anything. But if I take the $35,000 a year only that we're being asked to contribute, and I divide it by the number of people that we're serving, so $35,000 divided by 42, I get $833 per person we're helping annually.
I'd have to do the math, but my math tells me our contribution would be just over $21,000 per year.
Sorry, I'm not understanding then. The motion says to transfer $31,000 in 2027 and $35,000 in 2028.
Yeah, our total contribution for the 3-year term would be just over $65,000.
Yeah, divided by 42 clients.
Yeah, and that has the capability to increase from year over year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Peterson?
Do we have to follow the current prescription? And the reason I ask the question is that Is there other ways that this $60,000 could be designated? Is there other ways that it could be delineated into community services on a more sustainable basis, so beyond the 3 years? So doing something, you know, you're talking about healthy aging, and you know, I'm thinking about the statistics that you provided to us today about how that looks for healthy aging in this community. What would it look like if we put that 60,000 into building processes and concrete strategies into the community to deal with, you know, a dementia-friendly community, for instance? Is there a way that we can divert from the current plan, or do we have to stay with what is being proposed here?
Yeah, the criteria for this particular program is non-medical related, social prescriptions. So if we get into the dementia, we can support it with resource navigation. We can't actually get in to do the actual work to do medical diagnosis of dementia. or anything
No,
like
that's
that.
not, the Dementia-Free Community Project has nothing to do
Okay.
with the medical aspects of prescribing. It's a program that's lends itself to making a friendly community on a process basis for people with dementia and their caregivers.
Mark, did you want to weigh in?
Yes, through the chair, Councilor Peterson, this money and this grant is associated directly with the hiring of a link worker. It cannot be, as Mr. Brazier indicated, cannot be used for different fundings or different programming. It's directly to support that link worker who does the social prescribing on behalf of the.
Thank you, Mark, very much for that. Any other questions for Bud? Councillor Langmaid?
Thank you, Worship. I know that the social safety net of supports in Strathmore is pretty varied, and we have a lot of different organizations that work together to make sure that we're catching people who are in need. Could you talk a little bit about and help me understand, if this social prescribing grant program were not to exist, what kind of gaps might that create in the social safety net that we have built in this community? Where would there be gaps that people could potentially be falling through?
Well, it definitely would be social isolation, supports around physical literacy and resource navigation around that. And then also, you know, transportation would be another big one. And just having the ability to view an apartment that might be available for rent, being taken to the food bank, picking up some supplies for a week. And what we found before this position was started, those gaps have been closed up slightly, and the supports and the outcomes from the position itself supporting local seniors, it's been a big benefit to the 482 folks that are residing in the town of Strathmore.
Thank you. And where are the majority of the referrals to this program coming from? What organizations are referring?
The hospital, PCN, sometimes it depends on the practitioner and where the client may go, but there's a lot of flexibility around the practitioner making that recommendation and getting that prescription to the client to refer back to us. So that can be a pharmacist as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid. Any further questions? Yeah, you've allowed other people to speak. Councillor Peterson.
So just to go back to what both of Mark and Bud have indicated, so we can use the funding for transportation, correct?
Yes, we do have a budget within the current grant program for transportation, yes.
But and the reason I asked the question, because we know that the Handy Bus had to cut their funding to maintain sustainability, and it's left a large, not a large, but a significant portion of community members out of the process that are still very, very much in need according to the determinants of social health that you indicated in your presentation. So, and the Handy Bus currently has 2 vehicles at their behest that they're not currently using. Is there a possibility that this would be something that we could look at, entering into a partnership with them under this process to build this into this to address what Councillor Wiley was talking about, you know, not just 42 people, but a huge number of people throughout our diaspora, the Wheatland County diaspora.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that tonight, but I can definitely look into that and see if there is an option for some sort of relationship with the handy bus and utilizing those services.
Thank you. So at this time, we're looking for a motion so that we can have debate and discussion. Councillor Peterson?
Your Worship, what I would really like to do, I would like to move that council direct administration to bring back information relevant to other opportunities to utilize the social prescribing grant program from October 2025 until September 2028, and bring that information back to the next most convenient meeting so that council would have a more fulsome idea of how we could work together with our Wheatland partners to mitigate the circumstances of those determinants of social health.
So Jonathan, would we need a motion to defer this motion then? And then Councillor Peterson would have to put forward her second motion?
Thank you, Worship and Council. Since this motion has not yet been made, Council can just direct administration to bring a report back as Councillor Peterson.
That was my motion, Your Worship.
Were you able to get that in writing as to what her motion was?
No, I wasn't, Your Worship. I was busy doing something else, but if you could just repeat that, that'd be fantastic.
Thought so.
Your Worship, I would move that council direct administration to bring back additional information on the social prescribing grant program as per the discussion of council around opportunities to advance alternative perspectives for the funding from October 2025 to 28 as noted, and that they bring that back at the next most convenient time slot for meeting.
Thank you. So we have that motion on the floor. Is there discussion on that motion? Councillor Wegener? Councillor Wiley after?
I just have a question with this. Would deferring it, and again, I know with grants, they come in and there's some of them are time sensitive and all that. By deferring this, would it affect timing? Is this a time sensitive issue? Again, sorry, okay. So,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
so,
go ahead and finish.
So yeah, so I just wondering, is this time sensitive? Do we have time to discuss this further? I do like what I saw up there, but I also kind of hear what Councillor Peterson is saying, and I wouldn't want to miss out on funding if we deferred too long.
Yes, through the chair. There is a timeline to our particular grant process, and that would be in June of 2025. The current program does expire in September of 2025. Healthy Aging Alberta and Calgary United Way would be looking for a decision from administration by the end of June of 2025.
So by the end of June, so if this is to come back at our next meeting, our first meeting in the month of June,
We would have to have a quick turnaround.
we would have to make a quick decision. You guys would have work to do to get this grant in place. Is there things that you, if it does get deferred, is there things that you can do prior to the actual resolution? And so it's not as much of a time crunch and a rush for your people?
I think based on the direction I'm hearing this evening, we would get to work tomorrow and start trying to see if we can have some additional responsibilities or additional options for this grant. So I'd be in communication with Healthy Aging Alberta, Calgary United Way, looking at the criteria for the grant program and seeing what we can do to support additional outcomes and workflow.
Maybe a question for Mark or Jonathan. How is our June 4th agenda? I know we have a couple of public hearings that day.
Through the chair, and maybe this addresses Councillor Wagner's, we don't really know right now yet how this renewal or continuation program looks. We hope that it's going to be a very simple process since we're one of the 13 partners that already has this program in place. And so we hope that next step of renewing this grant is really quick. but obviously we that hasn't been outlined to us yet. They've just developed a proposal about a month or so ago, and that's why we're seeking council's. I can't speak for the June 4th, but I think as Mr. Brazier indicated, I think we might be able to turn around some of this information requested within a week or so, potentially. That may work for either.
Jonathan, do you know what the June 4th agenda looks like? I know we have a couple of public hearings that night.
Just one. Thank you, Worship and Council. So right now we do have a tentative schedule what's coming on the June 4th meeting. We do have one public hearing scheduled for that night. There would be space on this agenda for this item to come back on June 4th should council wish to have a report.
And Bud, you feel confident you can get some information to us for June 4th?
I do, yes.
Okay, so that's good then. We have that motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion on that? Then I'll call the question. All in favor of Councillor Peterson's motion? And opposed? So that motion is carried. We'll get more information coming to us on June 4th to hopefully have a decision made that night. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Council.
We move now to item 10, bylaws. 10.1, designated officer bylaw, number 25-12, which is on page 59 of your agenda package.
We'll have Christy
Oh,
present
okay.
this.
Good evening, Christy. You're speaking to this tonight?
I am, yes, thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I'm before you this evening to present the proposed designated officer bylaw number 25-12. In accordance with Section 210 of the Municipal Government Act, a council may by bylaw establish one or more designated officer positions, giving each of those positions a different title and specify which powers, duties, and functions are carried out by each position. Administration has recently been faced with difficulties regarding the enforcement of penalties and associated actions relating to the collection of tax arrears on mobile homes. Following discussions with outside counsel, legal counsel, and internal stakeholders, it was determined that the town does not currently have the appropriate measures in place to enforce on certain issues. Although the CAO is automatically granted that power under the MGA and the CAO bylaw, currently the town does not have a standalone bylaw in place appointing additional designated officers. Having identified this gap, administration is recommending that council approve the presented bylaw and in conjunction with same, appoint those individuals identified in the report before you this evening as designated officers for the town. I appreciate your time and welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Councillor Peterson?
Just have a motion, Your Worship.
Okay.
I would move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-12, being the designated officer bylaw.
Thank you. You've all heard the motion. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Looking for a motion for second reading? Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that council gives second reading to bylaw number 25-12, being the designated officer bylaw.
Thank you. And now that we have a motion on the floor for second reading, is there discussion on this? Councillor Wiley?
No, not much. I will be supporting this. There's no additional funding involved in this, but an increase of potential services. It just simply redefines the role of existing bylaw officer to help us in a hole that we had. So I'll be supporting it.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion points? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Looking for a motion for third reading? Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that council give unanimous consent to give third and final
you.
reading of bylaw number 25-12, being the designated officer bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is also carried. And a final motion for third reading. Councillor Wiley.
The final third reading is that council give third reading to bylaw 25-12 being the designated officer bylaw.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is carried. We move now to item 10.2.
Sorry, point of order, Your Worship.
Oh, there is one more. Sorry.
One more step that we need to
I
follow.
got ahead of myself. Councillor Wegener.
I move that council appoint Kevin Scoble, Chief Administrative Officer, Kara Rusk, Director of Administrative and Strategic Administrative and Financial Services, Mark Pretzlaff, Director of Community and Protective Services, Sean Press, Senior Peace Officer, and Kirk Mears, community peace officer as designated officers.
Thank you. You've all heard that motion. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Now we move on to item 10.2, Proposed West Creek Area Structure Plan amending bylaw number 25-17. Chuck, are you speaking to this tonight?
Through the chair, I can
Jamie?
speak to this one. We don't really have a presentation, just as a small omission of our bylaw that was amended, I believe, a couple of weeks ago by council, so we're just fixing that. Just first reading.
Thank you very much. This is just, again, for people at home, this is for first reading and to direct it to a public hearing on June 18th. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-17, being a bylaw to amend the West Creek Area Structure Plan, bylaw number 08-22, and the council direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw number 25-17 on June 18, 2025 at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you very much for that motion. Councillor Wiley.
So I just have a procedure question. Now that first reading's on the floor, there shouldn't be questions, but I didn't get an opportunity to ask a question beforehand, so please advise.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. So as this item is going to a public hearing, questions about clarification about process, I think, are allowable, but anything to do with the content of the bylaw should wait to the public hearing, just in consideration of procedural fairness for all parties.
I think it's a procedure question, but administration, please correct me if you think otherwise. I was just hoping that administration could give a very short explanation of this for the people at home, because I think it's probably unclear what exactly is going on. So that was my question.
Through the
Jamie.
Through the chair. So the original ASP amendment that was approved by council, there was an omission of a figure in that amendment that was passed. So this amendment is simply fixing that omission. The purpose and intent of the changes to the ASP are not any different.
Thank you for that explanation. Councillor Wiley?
Yeah, so I'll be supporting this because what is important to understand is the purpose and intent of the ASP that we put out is exactly the same. I'm just going to quote our director. It's just simply fixing an omission. Basically, it's a paperwork.
Thank you for that. I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We now move to item 10.3, Land Use Bylaw amending bylaw number 25-08, West Creek Phase 1. Jamie, are you doing the preamble on this?
No presentation, again,
Okay.
just first reading. This is just the land use changes that go along with the ASP amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-08, being a bylaw to amend land use bylaw number 14-11, and that council direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw number 25-08 on June 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Jonathan, if he had a clarification question, can we go back to that? I did call the question, but
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I think as long as council is all clear where we're at, and that if the question is procedural in nature and
Okay.
not about the content of the bylaw.
then we can have your question. Councillor Wiley, if you have a procedural question of clarity, for seeking clarity.
Yeah, listen, I just always appreciate from administration explaining to people at home what exactly is going on. A short 1-minute presentation wouldn't hurt. People at home might be wondering, look, the vocabulary right might not be clear. There's already been an ASP, and now we're looking at West Creek Phase 1. I was just hoping that administration could let people know what is going on here.
Jamie.
So through the chair, I guess to put it simply, the West Creek ASP is the higher level plan. Those amendments some of those amendments were adopted by council previously. The next step in the process is where the districts for the land use bylaw are applied to a phase, being phase 1 of the West Creek ASP amendment. And it's important, obviously, those land use districts need to be consistent with the ASP amendment.
And administration, is it inappropriate at this time for me to ask what phase one includes? Does it include things like how many acres, emergency service, stormwater? If it is not the time, please just let me know.
Through the chair, we'll present that at the next meeting. Council, when it's
Okay,
presented.
thank you.
If I could, so when council passes first reading, now we go into the public hearing stage, which means we advertise for 30 days. So all that that type of information will be available in advance of the council meeting for any public that wants to review it.
Thank you very much for that. So we do have a motion on the floor for first reading and then directing it to the public hearing. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We move now to item 10.4, Land Use Bylaw Amendment Number 25-16, Textual Amendments, which is on page 114. Councillor Peterson.
Your worship, I'd move that council give first reading to bylaw number 25-16, being a bylaw to amend the Town of Strathmore Land Use Bylaw, and the council direct town administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw 25-16 on July 2nd, 2025, 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this one, Councillor Wiley? You're good? No. Well, the first reading is on the floor, so this wouldn't be relevant to ask questions. Okay.
It is well explained, your worship, in the package, I think.
So, yeah, it is in our agenda package, and as CAO Scoble said, there will be information published, and people will be able to see what this one is concerning. So I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We now move to 10.5, Municipal Development Plan Amendment Number 1, municipal-wide promoting non-residential tax assessment-based growth. Councillor Wiley.
I'm hoping before the motion is put on the floor, could we get a small presentation as to what this is?
Jamie.
Through the chair, in short, we're simply putting a couple of aspirational statements in our MDP that allow us or direct us to start to increase or the ratio of non-residential development to residential development to further enhance our fiscal sustainability in the long term.
Councillor Wiley.
In a case like this, who would be notified of the public hearing? Is it just public notifications through the media, or are there specific residences that are sent a letter?
Jonathan.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. So in this case, we have to advertise in the Strathmore Times for 2 consecutive weeks and no less than 7 days before the public hearing. So because this is scheduled for June 18th, we'll be able to get this in multiple. We'll be able to exceed that requirement. We'll also be able to include this potentially in our upcoming utility insert as well, and some social media will also be involved to advertise this public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
To answer Councillor Wiley's question, it's for everybody in the community. Yeah.
Everybody in the community would be
And
able to
I would think that non-residential entities would, if they see this, they'll pay attention to it and be a part of or come to or watch the public hearing portion to see how we are thinking of trying to get to this tax base. Okay, thank you. Did we get a motion on the floor? Councillor Wiley?
I can do the motion.
Okay, thank you.
The council give first reading to bylaw 2513, being a bylaw to amend the Town of Strathmore Municipal Development Plan, and that council direct administration to schedule a public hearing for bylaw 2513 on June 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor for first reading and direction to a public hearing. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We move now to item 11, councillor information and inquiries. 11.1, questions between councillors and council statements, which always sends a shiver of fear down my spine. Seeing and hearing that there are none, Then we can move now to 11.3, question and answer period. If any of you have any questions or answers. Councillor Peterson.
I just had a question for administration and not to be answered this evening at all. But I know that we had previous conversations around economic development in looking at our farmers market process and how we would enhance that into the future. And I know our economic development officer had some absolutely fantastic ideas around that. And I was wondering, at a future meeting, if we could hear about any developments or further ideas or developments of processes around that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or answers? We move now to 11.4. Any administrative inquiries, Jonathan? No. Then we move to 11.5, notices of motion. 11.5.1, land use bylaw amendment, childcare services, Councillor Langmaid. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm back here tonight with my notice of motion that was originally put on the table at our first regular council meeting in May. And just to introduce it, tonight's discussion is not necessarily about the amendment itself or what it would mean. It's just tonight's discussion is centered around whether we bring the amendment back to the upcoming June 4th meeting to have that discussion. So tonight I'd like to move that Council direct administration to prepare an amendment to Land Use Bylaw number 14-11 to include childcare services as a discretionary use within the Highway Commercial Land Use District, and that Council directs administration to present the amended bylaw to Council at the June 4th, 2025 regular Council meeting for discussion and debate.
Thank you. And then to just echo what you said, this is not to actually discuss the amendment and decide on whether we accept it or not. It's just whether we agree to have that come to us for future discussion. Is everybody confident and clear on what the motion is? Any discussion on that? Councillor Wiley?
Yeah, just in short, I won't be supporting the motion even if we're not debating it. I just don't think it's even a good idea to bring back up.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And okay, let's do it again. All in favor? All in favor? And opposed? So that motion is carried. We move now to notice of motion 11.5.2 West Creek Land Transfer Mayor Fuel. So this is just my notice of motion that it's going to be coming forward at a future meeting. So I will begin this. Whereas Strathmore Town Council's 2022 to 2025 strategic plan includes the priority of community development intended to create communities for residents, which promote sustainable and interdependent family-friendly spaces. And whereas Council values community wellness focused on the maintenance, protection, and improvement of services that support optimum lifestyles. And whereas wetlands are a natural part of the Alberta landscape. And whereas conserving wetlands where appropriate and developing adjacent to wetlands in a responsible manner according to provincial and federal regulations ensures that the natural environment can be protected. And whereas West Creek Area Structure Plan amending bylaw number 25-07 includes a provision for reserve dedication as shown in Schedule A, Map 8. And whereas West Creek Area Structure Plan amending bylaw number 25-07, Section 4.1, existing land uses states, the lands contained within Northwest 15-24-25 West 4 are currently designated as low-density residential district and medium-density residential, while the balance of the westlands and the entire eastlands are designated Urban Reserve District, UR. Notice is hereby given that the following motion will be brought forward for consideration at the June 4th, 2025 regular council meeting. That council direct the CAO to complete an agreement for the transfer of West Creek lands south of Grays Park to the town of Strathmore at an appropriate and mutually agreed upon time in the development and approval phases. And there are no discussions or debate on a notice of motion coming forward. Jonathan, can we have questions of clarity on a notice of motion? Or does that come when the actual motion comes forward?
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I think it's fair to ask questions about the process, about when it would come back, but questions about the motion itself should be discussed and debated
Okay.
when the motion itself comes back on June 4th.
Okay, Councillor Wiley?
Sure, so this might not be a process question, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I had a resident reach out, was concerned in her words that West Creek was dumping the land on us before it could be enhanced. Her hope was that the lands would be enhanced before we got it. That's more of a debate for the night. Okay.
Thank you very much. So that's taken care of. Correspondence was taken care of. It brings us to, no, that's just a notice of motion coming forward at June 4th, so there's no motion, no voting on that, which brings us to the end of our evening together. So I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:23.